Today, Woolworths CEO Brad Banducci announced he's stepping down after 8 years at the helm as the company prepares for a public inquiry into alleged price gouging. Not before he sat down for a shocker of an interview.
On a scale of 1 to Tom Cruise...
I know. Have you ever felt this way?
This train wreck interview was right up there.
I think I'm done, guys.
Woolworths CEO Brad Banducci sitting down with four corners for a chat that can only be described as a PR nightmare. Banducci first taking a swipe at former ACCC boss Rod Sims.
Retired, by the way. I'm just saying the world has got much more competitive.
He retired 18 months ago.
Before regretting it.
Okay, can we take that out? Is that okay? I shouldn't have said that. Angus, are we going to leave it in there if we are?
Well, I mean, we're on the record.
It then culminated in a walkout for the ages.
Yeah, no, I think I'm done, guys. I do this with good intent. I don't do this with bad intent.
You're walking out, really?
No. Can we just talk through Brad for a second?
Let me just...
Please have a minute.
I think it's pretty embarrassing, honestly. He's the face of the company.
I think it's very clear that we can do more collectively as a country to make sure that there is a fair go for farmers and families.
And the brutality didn't stop there. The internet also taking aim at his fashion choices.
The idea that the Woolworths CEO wears his supermarket polo and name tag. Come on, mate, you're not fooling anyone.
Well, he can keep his name tag now for when he wants to cosplay a grocery store worker.
Just last month, Woolies was smashed for not stocking Australia Day merch. Now, alongside Coles, it's facing public scrutiny over alleged price gouging.
It's been a really hard day for Brad, but what I'm focused on is the hard days that everyday Australians have had when they're filling their shopping trolleys to feed their families.
The supermarket giant today in damage control as it flagged weaker second half earnings, announcing the appointment of new CEO Amanda Bardwell as Banducci stepped aside. A decision Woolworths claims wasn't related to the recent turmoil.
Maybe he was getting close to his expiry date anyway.
I think is a testament that they know what's up and they're being called out for it.
So where does this no good, very bad run leave Woolies' reputation?
Well, we reached out to the incoming Woolies CEO, but she wasn't available. So we have advertising expert Karen Ferry to unpack this with us. Karen, what was the moment where it all started going downhill for Brad?
I think the moment when everything started to unravel a little bit was before he actually went in. I don't think he really was ready to take on an investigative journalist to talk about these issues. And I think it shows that he's, as a person, not really balanced in how he understands the role that he's taken on. If you're a CEO of a big company like this, you aren't the hero, you aren't the good guy. And I think you can see that he's got a personal struggle with that and he's not fully admitting and owning it. And you can see that that really comes across in that delivery and when he starts to get really agitated and leave.
Yeah, he gets into a bit of a flap when they're talking about Rod from the ACCC. Would it have been better if he'd just owned it and said, yeah, stuff Rod, I'm still working?
Yeah, definitely. I think honesty goes a long way. And even though it's a truth that lots of people might not like, no one's ever going to like him because he is the CEO of one of the biggest two duopolies in supermarkets at the moment. So you might as well be like, yep, you know what? I'm at the top. It's not great up here, but there's lots of decisions that we have to make and some of them aren't great.
Karen, if you were running his PR team, would you have let him do the interview in the first place?
No. I think if you look at past communications from Brad, this tone and what is true to him, this still continues to come through. And so I think it was quite dangerous to put him in front of the camera. There's a lot of theatre in the room that they've put him in. They've put him on the floor. They've dressed him up like a Woolies employee, all these things that try and make him look like a good guy because that is their brand, right? They seem like they're just this lovely Woolies farmer that's just like growing herbs out the back. They're just going to hand it to you and then trying to make him as a person match that. He's at the top of a boardroom. He isn't behind, back of the shelves, unpacking things, smelling a capsicum. That's not true to him. And try and paint him like that is really difficult for him to manage.
Maybe Brad likes capsicum. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Clearly the backlash has been, pretty visceral. How much of that do you think is actually about the interview and the way he conducted himself? And how much is it just a vehicle, an outlet for people to express the anger they have at the thought of, for example, being price gouged or whatever their grievances might be?
I think 99% is people who are really frustrated with the situation that they're in. And so it's really, I think, a bit of schadenfreude where people delight in seeing him really struggle because they can feel like they've kind of got some control of a situation they don't feel like they have any control over.
Do you think a new CEO is going to fix all of Woolies' problems?
It's funny because I think Woolworths problems like this Senate inquiry, the bad press, it is an annoyance, but people ultimately are still having to shop with them because of the lack of choice. I think Woolies' big problems that they face every single year is how are they going to make more revenue. And so I think for the new CEO, it's interesting who they've chosen is someone who comes from the digital and led the digital team where they've seen that innovation come through. So I think it shows where their priorities are currently lying.
We appreciate you, Karen, staying right till the end of the interview. We have tied you, though, to the chair. Thanks so much for your time.
That's all right. Thank you so much for having me.